I watched about 30 different series previews of the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves across all different types of media, both legacy and on YouTube, both national and local, both in Minnesota and LA. Only about 3 of those people picked the Minnesota Timberwolves to win this series, with a majority of them picking the Lakers in 6. And a good amount of them picked the Lakers in 5. Even I, in my NBA playoffs preview, picked the Lakers in 7, but it pained me to do so. And if I'm being honest, I was trying to account for my bias as a lifelong Timberwolves fan, just like I did last year in the Phoenix Suns-Wolves series. But instead, the Minnesota Timberwolves just put the entire NBA on notice. They are coming for the West, not just beating the Los Angeles Lakers, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James in 5 games. But let's be honest here, they pretty much manhandled them. So as we get into this video, let's talk specifics about every single game of this series, and then we'll talk about what went wrong for the Lakers, why so many got it wrong, and ultimately, how high of a ceiling do the Minnesota Timberwolves have the rest of these playoffs? Let's dive in. Don't worry, soon here we will get to game 5, breaking it down, talking about Rudy Gobert silencing every single hater, and also Anthony Edwards' playmaking leap, plus the Minnesota Timberwolves being the first team ever to shoot 40+ threes in a game, shoot 15% and win. But first, we have to talk about how we got here, starting with game 1, and honestly, the expectations going into the series. Everyone thought the Lakers had the 3 out of the 4 best players in this series, with Austin Reeves being the 4th best player. They also felt like, which the data did show this, that the Lakers were a better clutch time team and that these games would be close, but the Lakers in clutch time would just outperform the Minnesota Timberwolves, which was pretty reasonable to suspect, given Luka and LeBron's reputation and the Wolves being like the 20th best clutch time team in the regular season. There was also narratives about playing Rudy Gobert off the floor on the defensive end and Julius Randle just being an all-time playoff choker. With that being said, let's get into game 1, where the Timberwolves absolutely dominated the Lakers. They shot over 50% from 3. And although Luka had 37 points, he had just 1 assist and 5 turnovers. The Wolves are pretty much saying Luka can get his, but he's not going to have 10 assists and accumulate 60 to 70% of the Lakers' points. Jaden McDaniels feasted having Luka on him, and that's the biggest thing the Wolves learned from the Western Conference Finals last year, was that they were going to put Luka in as many actions as possible and attack him off the dribble. A team high plus 27 plus minus, 25 points for Jaden McDaniels, 11 for 13 from the field, and Naz Reid had 23 points. But after game 1, what was the consensus? The Wolves are going to put up a fight, but they're not going to shoot 50% from 3 the rest of the series. And that's exactly what happened in game 2. The Wolves would shoot just 38% from the field, 5 for 25 from 3. Scored just 85 points. Randle and Anthony Edwards had 52 of those 85, and nobody else had double figures. But on the Lakers end, what I think a lot of people missed after game 2 was that they didn't really solve anything. The Wolves just could not score. Now, Luka did have 35, 12, and 9, but they only scored 94 points, and the Wolves offense was not going to put up 85 points again. It still felt like in that second half, the Wolves had multiple opportunities to really close that lead, getting it to 9 and 8. But they just shot terribly from 3, and things would definitely even out. So going back to Minnesota for game 3, this game was by far the closest back and forth, and with about 3 minutes to go, the game was tied. It was going to be our first test of which team was going to perform well in the clutch. Luka makes this bucket, tying it at 103 with 4:37 to go. Anthony Edwards hits this 3 with 4:19 to go, a step back 3. And then he finds Naz Reid for this 3, putting the Wolves up 6. This is the playmaking leap that everyone thought if Ant could make, it would unlock his game to a whole new level. The Lakers scored just 1 point down the stretch. It's an Austin Reeves free throw. Ant has this layup here, and then also he hits another step back 3, Jaden McDaniels ices it with this three in the corner, and the Wolves completely outplay Luka, LeBron, and the Lakers in the clutch, 116-104, outscoring them 13-1 in the final 4 minutes of the game. Luka finishes with only 17. LeBron had 38, and it felt like one of these games that LeBron was only going to have once in this series. Anthony Edwards finishes with 29, 8, and 8, a team high plus 13. And then lastly, Jaden McDaniels again, 30 points on 13 for 22 from the field, just punishing Luka Doncic being on him. Going into game 4, this now becomes a must-win for LA. Split the series going back to LA, and you're in the driver's seat. After a pair of Rudy Gobert free throws, the Wolves are down 94-84 at the end of the third quarter. The Lakers just outscored them by 13. But Chris Finch matches JJ Redick's 5 players that are playing the entire third and starting the fourth, and he starts Anthony Edwards the fourth as well, which proved to be massive. He hits back-to-back threes within the first minute. Then he hits this little runner slash floater, making it a 7-point game. Again, a step back three, and now it's a 4-point game. Naz Reid's been incredible in the fourth quarter in this series. At this point, he has not missed a shot. This three makes it 104-102. Luka fouls, and they're now up 3. Bear with me, guys. There's so much left that happens in this game. Rui Hachimura was actually fantastic for the Lakers. Hits his 5th three of the ball game. Lakers back up 2, but Naz Reid, man, again, 108-107. And then he gets switched onto Luka and kind of locks him up. Dante DiVincenzo and 1. The Wolves are up 4 with just 2 minutes to go. But the Lakers aren't done. Austin Reeves 3, LeBron James block off Dante, and a DFS 3 in transition. 113-111, Lakers lead after just being down 4. And LeBron actually strips Naz Reid again, but then he takes this 30-foot 3. I mean, there's 5 seconds left on the shot clock, but this was just LeBron trying to put the game away. They double ant. He finds Naz on the roll down to Jaden McDaniels and 1, and the Wolves are back up 1. Luka trips over Jaden McDaniels' foot. The 2-minute report after the game said this was a foul. It was not called. And because they call a timeout, there's only 1 second left to get across the half-court line. LeBron James turns the ball over, and then Anthony Edwards gets fouled. They challenge it because they didn't call it right away. This overhead view shows it's a foul. Ant makes both free throws. Austin Reeves misses a pretty good look at the end, and the Wolves escape 116-113, going up 3-1 in this series. Again, outplaying the Lakers in clutch time. And with that, it brings us to game 5 that just occurred yesterday. I was honestly shocked by the continued double down and really just stubbornness by some of the national media saying the Lakers still had a very good chance of coming back in this series. Almost everyone picked them to win game 5, but if you've really been paying attention this series, the Lakers are just flat out the worst team than Minnesota. They have huge roster flaws, which is what happens when you make a massive, unexpected acquisition midway through the regular season. But still, everyone thinks the Lakers are forcing a game 6. They're gonna come out very aggressive, and they just don't. Also, I have to briefly say, I just summarized 4 games in 5 minutes, and I didn't mention Julius Randle. He has completely changed his entire reputation through these first 4 games in the series. He has been Minnesota's rock, honestly, offensively, and he's playing extremely hard defensively, being able to guard LeBron pretty well. So I have to say that going into game 5. But there's one player that has not helped his reputation, even though he's held up well on the defensive end, and that's Rudy Gobert. He's averaging just 3.5, 4 points in this series. He cannot punish a team that does not have a legitimate center, but that all changes in game 5. Rudy finishes the first half with 15 points, which is about as much as he's had in this entire series. 8 rebounds, 4 offensive, and the Wolves are up on the Lakers by 10 at halftime. Even though they shot 6 for 30 from 3 in that first half, they should be up by 25, honestly. All of those looks were incredible. The Lakers will take their first lead of the game, 80-79 on this LeBron James free throw, and they're down just 1 point going into the fourth. So we're probably going to have another clutch time game again. Rudy Gobert puts the Wolves up 3 with this board and dunk. Julius Randle, an incredible number 2, but LeBron hits a 3 right back, making it a 2-point game. Randle does his thing again. And then after Luka misses this layup and complains to the official about a foul, Anthony Edwards goes down and it's a 6-point game. Rui Hachimura, again, was honestly, I thought, incredible offensively in this game. Hits a 3, 97-94. But Anthony Edwards, this is the stuff he was not doing in the past. He drives on a night where he's 0 for 11 from 3 and where the Wolves are 7 for 47, 15, 16%. He drives, kicks it out to Mike Conley for the 3. And the Wolves win this one. They seal it with some Julius free throws. 103-96, sending LA home in their home arena in 5 games. And like I said, becoming the first team ever to win a playoff game shooting more than 40 attempts from 3 while hitting just 16% of them. A majority of them wide open. If the Wolves have just a decent game from 3, they win this game by 25. Rudy Gobert was the star, a team high plus 18 plus minus. 27 points, 24 rebounds, 9 of them offensive. And that's also a playoff career high in points and rebounds for Rudy. Anthony Edwards, even though he went 0 for 11 from 3, he still had 15, 11 boards, and 8 assists while 0 turnovers. Luka had 28, 9, and 7. He hurt his back in the middle of this one, but he powered through. And then LeBron had 22, Rui Hachimura 23 again. Austin Reeves just 12. Minnesota shut down Austin Reeves in this series, honestly. And off the bench, they had just 4 points combined. Let's start with what the Wolves did well in this series. Number 1, their offense is just leaps and bounds better than last year. They can beat you on a night where they're not impeccable defensively because of their offense. They could not do that last year. Their defense was their calling card, and their offense was not going to bail them out ever. Anthony Edwards had 31 assists in this series to just 6 turnovers. And quite honestly, he outplayed LeBron James. He outplayed Luka. He was the best player in this series, even with a couple games where he struggled shooting. Something I didn't even mention about last game was that he had 43 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds. But ultimately, Minnesota's just more versatile than the Lakers. The Lakers, they do not have a true big. Minnesota does in Rudy. He finally had a game where he could punish them, but even when he wasn't punishing them, he had incredible defense. Their offense was able to sustain with a secondary creator and playmaker in Julius Randle, and having Luka Doncic to attack off the dribble with Jaden McDaniels and Julius all series long. Not to mention multiple of those close clutch time games, game 3 and game 4, they closed with a death lineup that was of all shooters that could switch everything in Anthony Edwards, Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, and Naz Reid, which is something not a lot of teams can really say. They're so versatile. They have 8 players that could start on any team. Meanwhile, the Lakers struggled to find even one guy off the bench once Jackson Hayes was removed that could contribute in this series. We'll talk more about the Wolves in a second, but I gotta say about the Lakers, I think everyone just saw Luka and saw LeBron and just assumed that was enough to win a playoff series in the Western Conference, completely forgetting that Dallas Mavericks team that went to the finals last year was perfectly, I'm saying that correctly, perfectly constructed for Luka Doncic. They had corner 3-point shooting. He had a secondary creator when he needed a break and was still on the floor. It had length, it had defense, it had rim protection at all times in Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, and most importantly, they had a lob threat on the court at all times that really stifled Minnesota's defense. The Lakers do not have that. If Luka didn't have it going, he either had to hope that he created an open 3 for Rui Hachimura or DFS, or that he shifted the defense just a little bit so that LeBron or Austin could create for themselves. That's literally all they had going on offensively. And then defensively, they have absolute liabilities. Austin Reeves, not a good defender. The Wolves picked on him a ton. Obviously, Luka Doncic, not a good defender. The Wolves did a terrible job of capitalizing, putting him in actions last year in the Western Conference Finals. That was their number 1 goal in this series, and I'm pretty sure there was someone on Twitter, I'll link the tweet here, who's a defensive film breakdown guy, who mentioned in game 5, Luka gave up like 41 points. And so that was something that the Wolves capitalized on. Jade McDaniels, Julius Randle primarily was who Luka was guarding. They cooked him all series. But honestly, if I'm the Lakers, you did this to yourself. The national media did it to you. There's no reason that you had such high hopes for these playoffs. You just got handed to you a top 5 player in the NBA in his prime for nothing. But with that, it takes time to build a roster around him. And they just didn't have anything beyond Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves, who didn't have a good series, and Reeves, beyond them, to be able to compete in the playoffs to the level that the Wolves were able to play to. And so if you're the Lakers, they're going to be fine. I don't understand people getting upset about Luka. Yeah, he's horrible defensively. He probably needs to get in a little bit better shape. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. But there's no reason that this Lakers team should have had that high of expectations. You don't make a move like that and compete for a title in the same year. It just does not happen. With that being said, for the Wolves, where do I think they can go from here? I think whether it's Houston, whether it's Golden State, they are going to be favored in that series. I think with Golden State, they don't have anybody that can guard Ant either. People try to say Moses Moody. Hell no. Not to mention Jimmy on Julius. Julius is a lot bigger than Jimmy. I think you're not giving Julius enough credit. He's proven in this series he can be a phenomenal number 2. Also, Jaden is really good at chasing Steph. You have Na off the bench. You have Anthony Edwards at any given time. You have big bodies for Jimmy Butler. And you have Rudy Gobert in rim protection. As for Houston, their defense definitely scares me. Şengün scares me a little bit with Rudy. But at the end of the day, they just don't have enough offense to compete with the Wolves' offense. The Wolves can go small if Rudy is not playing well, and they can beat you with shooting and getting to the rim. And so I think at this point, the Wolves are going to make the conference finals. They're going to meet OKC there. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I'm not going to pick the Wolves to beat OKC. But right now, I think the Wolves would give OKC a lot better of a shot than most people would give them credit for. With that being said, though, that's where I'm at. I'm not going to go any further than that right now. We can't get too far ahead of ourselves. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't care what you think of them. Anthony Edwards, he doesn't care what you think of him. Julius Randle doesn't care what you think of him. Rudy Gobert does not care what you think of him. This was a statement win for Anthony Edwards at 23 years old. Back-to-back playoffs, knocking out Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Nikola Jokic, and now Luka Doncic and LeBron James. We'll see how far they can go. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you soon. I know I haven't been doing too many NBA playoff videos this year. That changes soon. And as always, we'll see you on the hardwood.